Hi everyone, welcome. I'm out in my yard and what we have here is my outdoor worm bag. It's only been in service for 14 days now, 2 weeks. And during that time, during its first week in service, it received no feedings. It just sat out here. And on day 7, it got its first feeding a week ago. And it wasn't much of a feeding. It was sort of a test feeding to see how this certain type of paper that I shredded up a bunch of, to see how that stuff would go. See a little bit of it right down here. It's sort of like a paper bag, but it's the stuff that the township provides. They provide the leaf bags. So I wanted to see how those do. I wasn't sure if they might be treated with something so that they don't, get soggy and dissolve and leave, a street full of leaves that have already been bagged up once before. So I want to see how that stuff's coming along. I'm not expecting a lot of progress in just 1 week, but I'm still interested in seeing the worms are taking to it. And the stuff I collected out of the freezer and whatnot is shown here. There's potato, there's pizza pie crust, some pieces of strawberry, some Carl Rob. I even bought a little portion of grit to go along with today's feeding in this folded up piece of paper. It's just pulverized eggshell to help with the diet. Coffee, the filter will go into. So I'm going to dig into here, see how things are progressing. I'm curious to see how these worms are doing. As you can see here, the application of bedding last time was very, very generous. So all these leaves came in after the last feeding a week ago, as did all of this test bedding, this leaf bag. I really don't have any particular concern for this paper. It's just that once before I had tried shredding and composting leaf bag material, and for some reason in my application, or at least with those bags, it seemed like the material was taking forever to break down, and I didn't want to just go headlong into the use of more of these leaf bags if in fact there is something about them that the decomposition process is somehow hindered by something they might put into the bags or something. I don't know. That was just sort of my little rough guess, very unscientific, but I thought that I'd try to give this material a little bit of a test drive, since the township provided a ton of leaf bags, and I was lucky enough to have my brother-in-law, who's a landscaper, come by with his truck, and we were able to just collect up all the leaves and put them in his truck one day, rather than me needing to collect them all up out of my yard and put them in bags and put them out on the curb. With a little bit of help, I was able to get the leaf situation this past autumn taken care of very quickly with some help, and left me with a whole pile of nice paper bags that could be possibly used as bedding if I shred them up. In fact, I even used up a whole bunch of them to create sort of a light barrier, sort of a weed barrier out in my garden. So I unfolded a whole bunch of them, maybe a dozen or more of these bags, and I laid them out all over the place in my garden. So now, okay, I guess I'm just feeling a little bit crowded by all this bedding material that's all over the place. Just wondering if I should come prepared next time with a little bucket or something I could put a lot of this into next time. So let's see if I can remember what we did. This paper bag was holding shredded paper. I bought it up from the shredder. This newspaper came along for the ride for some reason. We added, besides, like I said, a lot of bedding, besides a whole bunch of leaves on top, these pieces of paper came along for the ride last time. They were placed right on top of the feeding. This piece of, I guess, paper towel. It has something in it. Let's see, what was it anyway? I can't even remember what we fed in here. It wasn't a lot of stuff. It was a variety of different things. And whatever it is that was in here, this actually looks to me like the leaf of a strawberry. It's really brown and gooey and doesn't even look like leaves, but if you take a closer look at it, it is the leaves of strawberries. Some leftovers from the last feeding, I presume. I think the last feeding just consisted of a variety of different things. I feel something like a larger chunk of some sort of leftover here, but oop, it's funny, I don't know if it came on the camera. There was a little a little stream of liquid spewing out of this thing. I'm glad it didn't shoot in my direction. I just wondered if I can figure out what this is. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe some sort of a piece of beet, because it's kind of red. I think there were beets included. in here for these little guys last time. Oh, here's a pretty intact piece of leftover, right? You can even tell what it is. It's broccoli. It's even got a little worm taking an interest in it. Sometimes it's these things that I assume are just going to be like the very quick composting things, or the things that you end up finding leftovers of. Here we got a banana peel. So they've certainly got leftovers here from the last time, but I wasn't sure, you know, because we did make an estimate of this population as being very high, perhaps even higher than I thought after I averaged everyone's estimates together. Something in the neighborhood of 3,500 worms is thought to, you know, occupy this system here. And every now and then, if we actually slow down to take a look, we could probably see a bunch of them moving around within this material, but they're like little stealth camouflaged beings, especially in material this color, because they blend right in. It's really just from their movement that you can see them. So, well, you know, trying to see if there's any other. I think we already saw some broccoli. We saw a little bit of beets. I really didn't expect to find many leftovers. All right, so here we can see more of like a deposit of castings left behind by worms kind of mobbing around something that they particularly do like, whatever it might have been here. I'm not sure what that was, but to me that just seemed like evidence of a lot of worm traffic, because of that little sort of dark spot. Would appear to be a lot of left behind castings by the worms. But I think, you know what? Let's grab a couple of these larger things. I think we did bump into a few of them, right? And they didn't seem to be too heavily populated with worms. All right. I thought that maybe if we were to rest a couple of these things down underneath where the food's going to be placed, since the food's mostly all frozen, we can possibly avoid some direct contact of the frozen materials that are inbound with today's feeding, and not end up just dumping frozen stuff right on top of a batch of worms. I think this might also be beets. A little bit gooey, a little bit of fluid popping out of it. Man, I see a lot of little baby worms down here too. Sometimes it's really just a matter of slowing down and like allowing all the worms that have just been sort of disrupted to actually start moving around so you can see them. Otherwise they blend right in, right? It doesn't take long for these little guys to just get out of view, because they don't like being out here in the bright sun. Bright sun to a worm could mean any one of a number of really bad outcomes. They can get dried up out in the sun. They could be observed by a predator and get picked off and eaten out in the sunlight. So in general, worms are not going to want to be seen out in the bright sunlight, and they'll split pretty quick. So this is a much more generous feeding than last time, and that's really what I was after. I don't want to have to check in on this system weekly, and this way we can actually load up the food supply in here sufficiently enough that we can feel safe about just letting it ride for a couple weeks, especially with all this bedding that they received last time combined with this nice generous feeding. I believe that we could probably just let this the system sit for a little while longer, and then by doing so it'll probably give us a real chance to just let some of this test bedding material, this shredded leaf bag material, just sit here, and you know, then we'll get to see how the worms are taking to it. Hopefully they're enjoying it and eating it, occupying it, whatever. So if we could find a couple patches of it that are still somewhat undisturbed after my rather intrusive check-in here, maybe we could stack it up a little bit and give ourselves a little bit better chance at seeing what the deal is with that stuff. I'm not too concerned. I'm pretty sure it's going to be something that the worms can utilize and will be happy to hang out in. And since this is my outdoor worm system, it's likely to run for a much longer period of time with a larger number of feedings applied over that time, giving anything that might be a slow composting type bedding material, even if this paper is in some way treated and takes a lot longer to break down, there should be time enough for that to happen in here. But my hope is that it can, you know, prove to be a a material that breaks down quickly and easily in the worm systems, so that I can start shredding up a bunch of it and using it, because I've got so much of it. All right, let's get the coverings back on here. We got the cardboard covering. I've been out here a number of times over the past few days since it's been rainy, because April showers bring May flowers, and we're still just in the middle of April. I'm expecting more showers, and when the showers come again, I'll just remove these coverings oftentimes and let the rain fall in, because, you know, the worms like that, you know. All right, everyone, that's it for today. I'll take care of putting things away and getting things cleaned up, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. Before I go, let me just really quickly say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks so much.